Chapter 2. Preparing the Way. The Lord said, "Now then, you and all these people, get ready to cross the Jordan into the land I am about to give them." Joshua 1:1-2. Millie tucked baby Annis into her bassinet and pulled the blanket up to her chin. Ada and Zillah had decided to go shopping with Papa and Rupert. Don, Cyril, and Fan were playing explorers in the garden. Millie found her mother in the room off the kitchen, where the washing was done. She stood for just one moment, watching her. Millie thought she was beautiful, even in her house dress, with her sleeves rolled up and her arms deep in a big washtub of soapy water. Before Papa had lost his money, the washerwoman would have done the laundry. Now the family had only the help of a cook. Once upon a time, Millie and her mama would have had time to read books and take walks with the children. But now, Millie watched the little ones while Mama kept house. Washing alone for 8 children took half the day. The clothes had to be boiled and scrubbed in the big wash bucket, wrung by hand and hung on the line. When they were dry, Millie would take them down and Mama would iron them. "Mama." Marcia looked up with a smile. "Yes, Millie?" "Mama, did you know that we were going to move when you gave me that Bible verse?" Marcia paused for a moment, wiping a stray hair from her face, and then said, "I suspected we might." "How do you learn to trust the Lord?" Marcia wiped her wet, soapy arms on her apron, then walked over to the table and pulled out a chair. "Sit down, Millie," she said. Millie sat in the chair. "Now, daughter, what is keeping you from tumbling to the floor?" Millie looked surprised. "The chair. Aren't you afraid it will let you fall?" "Of course not. It's never let me fall before." Marcia went back to the washtub. "I can trust in God, because He has never let me fall. But everyone has a first time for trusting Him. Everyone has to learn for themselves that He loves them and won't let them fall. This is a good time to learn, my love." "But it doesn't make sense. Didn't He know that Mr. Arnold would embezzle Papa's money? That we would be poor and have to move?" "It is hard and a little scary. But you know, daughter, you are not the only one who has memory verses. Do you want to hear mine?" Millie nodded. "It's Hebrews 13:5. Make sure that your character is free from the love of money, being content with what you have. For He Himself has said, 'I will never desert you, nor will I forsake you.' So that we confidently can say, 'The Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What will man do to me?' If Jesus was everything to me, when I had servants and wore silks, Millie mine, how could He not be everything still, even if I am a servant and wear suds?" She blew bubbles from the tips of her fingers. "Good heavens, what is that?" Millie followed her gaze out the window. Wanago Stanhope was marching down the walk at the head of a comical caravan. Aunt Wealthy was right behind him, umbrella held high. 3 small mountains of brown paper parcels followed her. Over the top of each parcel could be seen just a bonnet, and beneath them, boots, skipping and hopping to avoid the puddles left by the recent rain. "She's brought Annabeth B. and Camilla," Millie cried. "A, B, and C." "Run and open the gate," Marcia said, "while I clean up." Millie flew down the steps and opened the gate that led the way into the parlor. The girls laid the packages on the table. "She wouldn't say a word," Annabeth said. "Not one word. But when Miss Wealthy Stanhope buys every fabric remnant in Lansdale, then you know that something is amiss." "And so we came to find out what," Bee said practically. "It isn't what we fear, is it, Millie?" Annabeth said. "It can't be. We've all been praying and praying." Millie's eyes stung, but she blinked hard. "My father and mother have been praying too, and they decided the opportunities are just so good in Indiana." "Indiana!" Camilla collapsed in a heap on the ottoman. "Not possible. You can't. There should be a law against it." "A law against the Keiths moving to Indiana?" Bee shook her head. "Of course not," Camilla said. "A law against the Keiths leaving Lansdale at all. I think we should sign a petition." "Annabeth, dear, are you quite all right?" Wealthy was looking at the tall, quiet girl. Bea and Camilla stopped their chatter. "We've always been together," Annabeth said. "How can you leave?" Millie's throat felt tight. Even if she could have spoken, there was no word to express all the feelings jumbled inside. Not one word. "Rump," Aunt Wealthy said, as if to sum up the situation. The girls glanced at one another. "Pardon?" Bea said. "I'm afraid I didn't hear you correctly." "I mean, this reminds me of my dear friend Hildegard Rump," Wealthy said. "Hilly and I have been friends forever. When the Lord called me to Boston to work with the Ladies' Aid, we became even better friends. Somehow we could share more of our hearts in letters than we could speaking face to face. And it was so wonderful to receive that letter every week. Dear Miss Hinden." "Excuse me, Miss Stanhope, but who is Miss Hinden?" Camilla asked. "Weren't you speaking of a Miss Rump?" "My goodness," Wealthy said, flushing red. "Of course I meant Hinden. Hildegard Hinden. What was I thinking?" The girls managed to contain their giggles until a squeak escaped Camilla, and then they all, including Aunt Wealthy, dissolved into laughter and tears. "Aunt Wealthy," Marcia said, entering the room, "you've come at last, and it looks like you've brought sunshine with you, as always." The girls burst into giggles again. "Hello, girls. You've been out shopping?" "Yes, at every store in town," Aunt Wealthy replied. "So you're going to leave Lansdale, Marcia?" "Yes, Auntie. And you. That's the worst of it." "Not so fast. Who says that I'm to be left behind?" "Aunt Wealthy, do you mean it? Is it possible you could think of such a sacrifice?" cried Marcia. "Pish tosh," Aunt Wealthy said. "I have been sedentary for quite long enough. I can't give up the Stanhope homestead, as you very well know, but I have found a tenant for it. The young minister and his wife will be very happy to set up housekeeping, and they will take good care of my furniture and belongings for a year. I intend to see you all safely settled in Hoosierland before I return. It will be quite an importation of Buckeyes, won't it? All of us coming in one lot? Now to business," said Aunt Wealthy, attacking the parcels. "I'm going to help you, Marcia, in getting your tribe ready for their exodus out of this land of plenty into that western wilderness. Here are 2 or 3 dress patterns apiece for the little girls to travel in. I think they had better be made long-necked and high-sleeved, don't you?" Millie had visions of her little sisters waddling like geese, their long necks stretched before them and arms held high. Even Marcia looked slightly puzzled. Then a light broke over her face. She was used to her aunt's odd way with words. "I don't know," she said. "Wouldn't it make them look a little old-womanish? Low necks and short sleeves are prettier for children, I think, and they're used to it. Summer's coming on, too, and we must expect warm weather. It will be cool on the water." "Oh, yes, that's true," Marcia said. "I'll take your advice after all." "Good. They'll be less likely to catch cold from any little exposure, and their necks and arms will be protected from the sun." Before the Keiths' troubles had begun, Marcia would have engaged a seamstress or 2, but now her carefully managed household funds were just enough to pay the bills and the cook. It would take some weeks of very diligent work by 3 or 4 pairs of hands to accomplish what the mother deemed necessary in the way of preparing their wardrobe for the journey. "Let me help with your sewing," Annabeth said. "I'll help too," said Bea. "I know Mother will let me." Annabeth and Bea were clever with their needles, and for the last 2 years the girls had worked together when they needed special gowns for parties or balls. Bea was especially clever at designing skirts that twirled when one danced, and Annabeth was simply the best at sewing lace. "I think that would be wonderful," Marcia said. "You can keep Millie company." Camilla looked down at her shoes. Everyone knew she was a disaster with a needle, and nothing less than frightening with a pair of scissors. Her mother ordered her gowns from Chicago, and Camilla was perfectly happy with that arrangement, as it left her free to pursue her studies. Millie took her friend's hands. "I think we will need some help with baby Annis, too," she said. "Really?" Camilla looked hopefully at Marcia. "I know we will," Marcia said. The girls agreed that they would be over after school the next day, and then they said their goodbyes. Millie helped sort the fabric as Aunt Wealthy and Marcia discussed plans for the trip. Suddenly, the door burst open, letting in 2 little girls and a boy who was just a year younger than Millie. The girls were almost in tears, but the boy's blue eyes danced with mischief and fun. Softly, softly, children, Marcia said, looking up with a smile as they came in. The baby is sleeping. Rupert, 11, is quite old enough to begin acting in a more gentlemanly way, don't you think? Yes, Mama, I beg your pardon. Yours too, Aunt Wealthy. I didn't know till this moment that you were here. Now, Ada, Zillah, what is this about? Ruth says that we'll have to live in wigwams like the Indians and eat raw fish with their eyeballs still in, Zillah said. Ada, who hated fish, started to cry. I'm sure we will have bread and butter, Millie said, hugging her little sister and glaring at her brother. Rupert, my son, was it quite truthful to tell your sisters such things? I was only making fun, he answered, trying to turn it off with a laugh, but blushing as he spoke. I never object to innocent fun, but amusement is too dearly bought at the sacrifice of truth, Marcia said. Zillah and Ada caught sight of the dress fabric and instantly forgot wigwams and fish. Are we getting new dresses, Mama? Can mine be blue? Will you sew lace on my collar? Will we be beautiful? Beautiful? Why, I have the most beautiful girls in the world, and my wife is the most beautiful of all, said Stuart Keith, who stood in the doorway, Fan tucked under his left arm, and Cyril and Dawn dangling by their suspenders from his right hand. Look what I found lurking in the bushes. A pack of wild children. May I keep them, dear? If you promise to wash them and teach them their manners, Marcia said, rising to kiss her husband. On my word I will. He sent the boys and Fan to wash up, then tossed his hat onto the hat rack. Hello, Aunt Wealthy. Have you heard the news? That you are going to Indiana, Stuart? Yes, I've heard something about it, Wealthy said with a twinkle in her eye. Not content to live in this civilized and cultured town, are you? Lawyers are not so plentiful there, and as more folks move in, legal services will be in great demand. I plan to open my own practice, and land is cheap. I'll invest in a portion of it, and hope to see it increase in value as the town grows. However, his voice grew solemn, it will mean the surrendering of some very dear ties here. Do you know, Marcia asked, smiling at Wealthy, that since you left us this morning, something has happened that takes away more than half of the pain of leaving Lansdale. Aunt Wealthy is coming along. Truly, Stuart pulled Wealthy from her seat and waltzed her across the floor. The Lord has blessed us. They were interrupted by a summons from Mary, the cook. She was always prim and very discreet, and she would have disapproved of the display if it had been proper to notice it at all. Thank you, Mary, Marcia said. Will you set an extra place for Aunt Wealthy? Millie loved supper time. She could pretend that nothing had happened and that life was just the same as it had always been. The family gathered at the table in the soft glow of oil lamps. Mary served them quietly and then left. Stuart bowed his head and led the family in a prayer. Then the meal began, with the sweet ting of silver on china. So, what has my family been up to today? Stuart asked. We told Mr. and Mrs. Wiggles that we were moving to Indiana, Fan said. She said she would pray for us. Mr. Wiggles said he would pray for the Indians, Dawn volunteered. Very kind of him, I'm sure, Stuart said dryly. But most of the tribes have been removed. They have gone to live west of the Mississippi, where there is more land and fewer white men. There is just one tribe left in Indiana. The Wattapotamies? Wealthy asked. The Potawatomis, yes. A fascinating people, Aunt Wealthy said, without pausing to correct herself. The Potawatomis fought very fiercely against the British. They were allied with the French. Then they fought as allies with the British against the Americans. Did the bad soldiers teach them to scalp peoples? Fan asked, eyes as big as saucers. Well, yes, Aunt Wealthy said, during the French and English War. But that was a long time ago, child. Papa, Rupert asked, what about Black Hawk? They say he is out of prison. Couldn't the Indians come back? Millie put her fork down. She remembered the talk in school about Black Hawk, a fierce Sauk warrior. He believed that the Indians had been cheated out of their land and tricked into signing contracts they did not understand. He gathered a band of 500 Sauk and Fox warriors. Along with the women and children, they came back across the Mississippi to the lands that had once been their home and fought with the soldiers of the United States government. When Black Hawk was finally defeated, it was a terrible massacre. Soldiers shot down the women and children, killing even tiny babies. Black Hawk's followers were wiped out. Millie remembered Mama crying when she read the accounts in the papers. Black Hawk has lost his followers, Stuart said. The Sauk tribe looks to Keokuk now, a reasonable man who wants peace. Mr. Wiggles was right. We should pray for the Indians.